Hi, this is Shade Foray with TaxSaleSupport.com. I'm here with Steven Swenson again, and this is one of our Property Deal of the Week videos.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about the state of Washington and their tax deed foreclosure auctions.
Yeah, which Washington is a tax deed state. What that really means is that property owners have a redemption period, but once that redemption period expires, the county can foreclose on the properties and offer them up at auction to recover the delinquent taxes.
Yeah, now the bidding's going to start at the delinquent taxes, penalties, and fees, and it'll be sold either through an on-site auction or an online auction.
Yeah. Now, before we move on, we want to encourage everybody to hit that subscribe button to join the channels because really we found only about 15% of people are subscribed.
Yeah, hit the notification bell. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so we're actually going to be looking at an auction that took place already. This is going to be one of where we review some of the properties that sold at an auction that just happened recently.
Yeah, this was an auction that took place in Snohomish County, Washington on December 15th through bidforassets.com.
Yeah, so let's take a look at a few of the examples here, because what we want to do, I guess, today is a little bit different. We want to look at deals and kind of evaluate what kind of deals they were.
Yeah, exactly. So for this first property, we can see that it ended up selling for $351,000. Now, as we start to look into this property, was this a good deal or not?
Yeah, so sold for $351,000. We can see it has an assessed value of $320,000, and it looks like a market value of maybe closer to $450.
Well, that's where Zillow has it. But one thing that's interesting to me is if we look at the value of this property, and we go and look at that assessed value, we can see that the property or the improvement value is only $29,000.
Yeah.
Also, we're looking at a photo from a street side image from 2018, and it has a torn up tarp that covers the entire roof.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, the house could almost very well be, it might even have to be condemned or something like that.
That's really kind of the way that I look at it. We could go on, obviously we do an on-site evaluation before we even bid on a property like this, but in doing so, if it's stayed the same or got worse since then, it's probably going to need to be taken down.
Yeah, for the county to only have the value at $29,000 for the improvements there says that it's probably already degraded quite a bit.
So it does have the one advantage of the property is it has that land value.
Yeah.
But that land value is not is limited to $291,000. Let's say it's $300,000. This person paid $351,000. So for this was essentially what we would consider a bad deal, upside down deal.
Yeah, they paid market or above market, essentially.
Yeah.
So they paid too much. Now, if the house, if the house was valued, worth a couple $100,000 plus you have the land, then there could have been something to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second property, is a little bit different. It ended up selling for $186,000. Still pretty competitive. In fact, this was a very competitive auction. And this is part of the reason we wanted to kind of highlight the properties that sold in this auction.
Yeah, we can see that it sold for $186,000. If we're looking at the assessed value, it looks like $130,000 for the land, $30,000 for improvements, for a total of about $160,000 assessed value.
Yeah. Now the Zillow value on this property is about $241,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, about 1,400 square feet, and it's actually a newer manufactured home. So the condition is probably, I'm sure it's going to need some work, but it's probably not in terrible. We checked that out to see before. But either way, if you were to bid up this property to, our high bid would be about $125, because even though it is a manufactured home, we're still going to expect to pay $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in potential rehab that we're going to have to kick into this deal to make it profitable. And so for us, would probably stick around $125,000.
Yeah. It's not quite as bad as the one before. Where they didn't quite pay full market. For it. They still kind of got a discounted price, but yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't get a thumbs up. It kind of gets a thumb sideways. Yeah. Not as bad as the first one. Now let's look at this third one.
Yeah, so this property sold for $240,000. This looks like it's actually a condo.
Yeah, it's a condo. I ended up selling for $240,000. Has an assessed value of $212,000. But what's funny is it has a market value of $240,000.
Yeah, 40,600. The precise amount that it sold for.
Well, and what's interesting is this property ended up selling for $426 a square foot. If we look up in the top right hand corner, these are just some of the condos that sold within the same unit.
Yeah, which other condos are the best comps,
Yeah.
because it's the same, building and everything.
And we can see the one that sold a month ago sold for $303 a square foot. The one that sold for 12 months ago sold for $264 a square foot, $257.
Oh, I know what happened. So they hopped online and saw, a value there of $240,600, but that might have been for places that were bigger, slightly bigger, maybe condos. That could have been a factor, but also it looked like, they basically bought high.
Oh, yeah. They spent $426 a square foot, while the other people are paying between $264 to $300 a square foot.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about the same, one may be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, but they bid this up to the actual Zillow value. And that may make sense in some ways if you were buying it, but you're buying a tax deed property at this point. I mean, even though this is a newer condo, we're not going to have to worry about the major issues like a roof or a foundation.
Yeah, you still don't want to pay market for it.
Yeah, we don't know what the inside condition looks like.
Yeah, it's not like somebody's going to hand you the keys.
It could easily need 10 to 20 grand, just in kitchen and bathroom and carpet and paint.
Yeah, it's interesting. That sales price there tells you they probably didn't really know and just basically figured that at least they were paying what it's worth.
Yeah. This property here was just a piece of land, and it probably could go either way. It's really going to depend on a lot more research into this.
Yeah, 6.5 acres of property, sold for $73,000. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see because the market value on it, could be quite a bit better here.
What it would really depend on is if you could subdivide the property, and before buying this type of piece of land, we would do a lot more research into it because you can see how there's a road that comes right down to where the property starts. Well, if you could subdivide that, then suddenly that has a lot more value than what they paid for it. I mean, right now it really looks like they paid close to market value as far as what the assessed value was. It would really take looking into the property a little bit more because this property could have different use where you are, putting multiple lots, and now suddenly this has a lot higher value.
Yeah. So really, that one is kind of in between. Yeah, it's interesting though. We get questions sometimes, especially with sales like this. Why does the bidding get up so high?
Yeah, and it's really something that we can give different examples, but sometimes we can't even explain it ourselves.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And usually when people are paying too much, that's usually an emotional thing. It's not something that's going to make sense.
Yeah, well, and in the case of this particular auction, there was a limited amount of property for sale.
Yeah, which is always going to make it more competitive naturally.
Yeah, so there was probably, we looked at every structured property and there was kind of a handful of all right lots. Also, right now, between December and the beginning of January, there's less competition than there is in other months.
Yeah, less sales happening, and so for what competition is out there, they're all going to kind of go to the same place.
Yeah. Well, and this particular auction was held on Bid for Assets, which is, been around, was one of the first websites that started doing online auctions. So there's a lot of investors that are looking at it, a lot of competition, but really in that kind of scenario where somebody's paying the value of the condo, it's really more money, more emotion than common sense. They're not an investor. They're an auction winner. Yeah. I think that's a good point.
and not only that, but you can't let that get you totally disappointed, because you can still find good deals even in competitive markets. Part of it is just kind of the cost of being a tax sale investor. You're going to win some and you're going to lose some. What's important to realize, though, is that eventually, it's a numbers game. If you keep it up, eventually you're going to win.
Yeah, sometimes you're going to win a property. Sometimes we're better off. We'd rather walk away than ever overpay for a property. So if you set your high bid and you end up walking away, that's a victory in itself versus overpaying for a property and now barely making money, or in some cases losing money.
Yeah, and make sure that you're also limiting how much time you're putting into the property, before the auction, so that as properties redeem, you're not just wasting your time.
Yeah, well, and the good news is that even in competitive auctions, we see good properties that are overlooked by others that were picked up for a fraction of their value, even in some more competitive sales.
Yeah, and it's also, it's probably going to take multiple auctions to have success. That's something else I think people need to go into it with, is with the right expectations. If you go into it thinking that you're going to be able to go in there on your first auction and get some killer deal, it's possible it could happen, but chances are it's probably not going to happen. It's going to take quite a few more auctions than that to find the deal you want.
Yeah. I mean, we plan on bidding at many different auctions before getting property. Sometimes we may get 3 or 4 properties in one auction. Sometimes, we'll strike out. Our students will strike out. That's just kind of part of the game. There's different things you can do. You can try attending an on-site auction, or even focus on a less competitive state, an over-the-counter state, something like that, where you can start getting some inventory coming in.
Yeah, those are all good points. If you really like this information, you should check out our website, where you can get a free ebook you can download called Secrets of Tax Lien Investing, that goes over a lot of this type of information.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where you can sign up for our free ebook and our Thursday night webinar. The link is in the description. You can click on it and download the free ebook.
Yeah. The other option, too, is to join our membership program at taxsalesupport.com, which is $39 a month, and includes tax sale lists along with, live training webinars and downloadable content. Really just a tremendous value for the money.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead and get started downloading our free ebook. If you like what you see, like Shay said, go ahead and become a member.
Yeah, hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to hit that thumbs up.
Appreciate it.